I am going to recite the Manifesto for the Amator Institute. Though I don't belong to it, I really like what they do. Man is created, and as a creation, he bears the mark, intention, and even the image of his creator. In short, the way things are is not an accident, so we play along with the reality out of love for its maker. Men and women are different. They have much in common as human persons, but they are different, and we are giant fans of this reality. Any real expression of a person will be expressed through or including gender, and to ignore that is to abuse the person, that is to treat them in a way other than that they were designed. Equality is a matter of dignity, not sameness. Man is not a wispy, ethereal spirit trapped and distorted in this prison of flesh. That is of the Manichaean and heresy. Man is body and soul, mind, will, and emotions. Because of this, all the types of actions men take are important to who and what they are, and brokenness or greatness can happen on any of these levels of his being. Any real expression of the human person must be an expression of the whole integrated human person. As Thomas Aquinas tells us, grace built upon nature. In men, the spiritual life is built upon the foundation of a well-developed, well-integrated, natural masculine character. Not all problems with men are spiritual. Some certainly are, and though we can't ever really chop man into these neat divisions, often the problems in modern man lay in the natural arena. The supernatural may sometimes fix the natural, and we are okay with that, but we intend to create natural solutions for the properly natural aspects of man, and for men to embrace the spiritual as well. We like miracles, but we also like camping. The masculine begets and bestows the masculine. The feminine can bring many great gifts to a man, but the masculine must call him into his full being. The primary mode of the bestowal of masculinity is the relationship of father and son in the context of family, within the larger context of political life and culture. Man is first and primarily a son. Before any other identity or role he may take on, this identity and the solidity of it are the bedrock of personal and spiritual development in the man. This identity is given and reinforced over time by the masculine initiation of a son by his father and the men around him. This masculine initiation as an intentional act becomes more imperative. The farther a culture is removed from nature, as if the father is absent by choice, death, ability, or location, it is imperative that the men around the boy take purposeful action to fill that gap. A lot of men missed out on. If a man is uninitiated, underdeveloped, or poorly integrated, he must take responsibility for a change with himself. The cure will be both natural and spiritual. Masculine mentorship and community are the primary ways that an uninitiated man can develop his natural masculine character. Developing intimacy with his heavenly Father and with Jesus Christ to take on the identity of a beloved son are the primary means of developing the uninitiated man spiritually. Much of the conflict between a man's spiritual development and the development of his natural masculine character centers on the image he has of Father and his comfort with Father as a being available for a relationship of safety and intimacy. There is a distinctly masculine form of spirituality, and it is very different from the bulk of modern spiritual contexts. A man properly formed as masculine will reject an overly feminine form of spirituality, seeing it as not ergonomic to his person. To develop a man's masculine character and not offer a spiritual ergonomic it will drive him from the church. A man's devotional life must be built upon the foundation of an intimacy with God within himself before he will find deep spiritual connection in more outward forms. The primary way for a man to ignite the internal intimacy with God is conversational mental prayer, solitude, and quiet and meditation on scriptural themes of sonship and fatherhood, towards the goal of taking on the identity of the beloved Son of the Heavenly Father. As much as possible, these spiritual prescriptions should be carried out outdoors, in a place of a solitude and natural beauty while in motion. Nature opens a man's heart. All human persons are rational by nature, but men are distinctly intellectual at their core. Men must understand and know, therefore, learning is essential to their spiritual life. They must read and learn if they are to pray and meditate. Some men are averse to reading and learning, but it is still imperative they do so. Wonder as a mode of procedure versus finding out by finding out the answer or getting it right is the corrective to this condition. Aristotle said, all men by nature desire to know. If they do not, we have shamed this instinct out of them with bad pedagogy, most likely with nuns. This is not a pun against nuns. We love nuns. Men need to be engaged in battle, always. The primary battle each man must wage is within himself. His enemies are his fears and self-hate, his pride and the devil. Men must also be engaged in an outward battle within culture. But if that battle is not anchored in and an outgrowth of his internal battle, he will fall, or the fight will destroy him regardless of his outward success. Luckily, there are a lot of battles to fight. Spirits, good and evil, are real. So as much as we love ideas, they are not enough. As C.S. Lewis said, we are in enemy-occupied territory, or rather, we are that very territory. We are the battlefield. Prayer, sacrament, and joy are all our good weapons. Each man, beyond his general calling as human and masculine, has a personal teleology or calling or purpose for which he is made. Deeper engagement with that purpose is tantamount for a man to develop, and to not feel useless or its opposite, wasted. Ironically, an overwhelming focus upon this finding of the purpose is a great source of anxiety in men and counterproductive. A man must discover that calling his calling as a holistic development within his self-knowledge development and the growth and exercise of his freedom. God's will must be discovered within a man, as the manifestation of the deepest fulfillment of his personal development and identity. A man's strengths are the primary road to his personal teleology. The more a man understands how he is built, the more he will understand for what he is built. Nature, psychology, and physiology all provide man with insight into strength. Outside of the moral arena, it is more important, especially for men, to develop strengths than it is to overcome weakness. Weakness should only be a factor to this point, that it prevents a strength from being put into act. We hold a combination of classical Ignatian discernment, augmented by modern positive psychology, strength theory, and other personality profiles like Myers-Briggs to be very helpful. Yes, we use big words. That's why they make Google. Weaknesses are among the things that must be managed to allow full expression of the person to develop, but there are many other things to be managed besides weakness. If man is to be engaged from a deep level of his person with himself, reality, and those around him. Distraction, worry, and overwhelm are some key things to be managed apart from weaknesses internal to the man. Men are less suited for the modern world than women are, as they are built for long periods of time with a clear mind focused on a task in front of them. Women by nature are multitaskers and omnivigilant due to their role as mothers and keepers of the domestic. The modern world has forced man, in many ways, into a feminine modality. The cubicle life of the office is no more ergonomic to the man than a desk in the corner on a nice spring afternoon is to a schoolboy. A fundamental conflict has emerged between man's desires to be responsible and provide and their lack of being ergonomic to multitasking. What makes him enough money may be killing him inside and out. Play is not a luxury but deadly essential to the health of man. Modern personal productivity theory plays a role in the natural aspect of man that spiritual discipline and spiritual exercises does for his soul. GTD is the best system for freeing the internal world of man to be both present in the moment and clear and peaceful and effective in realizing outcomes. This system's emphasis on paying attention to what has your attention is a broader application of the same reality that the concepts of consolation and desolation play in classical Ignatian discernment. The mental calmness that comes from the externalization of desires, outcomes, and actions is also essential to the ability to quiet the mind and be open to the internal spiritual movements and their counterparts in their emotions that make up the core of the spiritual exercises. Man was not built for static. And as we said earlier, man is a soul-body composite. Any real expression of the person must be real expression of the whole person, even the corporal. Man is an animal, a rational one, with an eternal soul, but an animal nonetheless. The move